Hey guys, let's start today's story on Naboo during Attack of the Clones. Anakin and Padme are alone, secluded for the first time in 10 years as Anakin embarks upon his first mission as a Jedi. Skywalker has always been infatuated by Padme, ever since he saw her cascading against the twin suns on Tatooine. He longed to be with her. As they sat in the tall grass on Naboo, they discussed the state of the galaxy. Padme had a senatorial view. She believes in democracy and diplomacy, that speaking and talking is the most effective resolution technique. But as a Jedi, Anakin believes that action leads to results. During this conversation, Anakin argues that the political system needs someone who can make everyone agree on the best interests for the Republic. Constant discourse and arguments don't solve anything. As Padme asks if this person should be Anakin, he scoffs. In the original timeline, he denies that this person should be him. But what if, in this very moment, Anakin actually believed that he possessed the skills and talents that would be able to unite the Republic and drive them towards a better future? What if he dedicated himself to becoming the Supreme Chancellor of the Republic? As Anakin tells Padme he is interested in joining politics and that he believes that he can make a real difference, Padme becomes incredibly intrigued. Anakin explains that the history books show that Jedi used to be chancellors, especially a millennia ago when the leaders of the Republic would be highly force sensitive. This was an interesting idea, and Padme tells Anakin he should pursue it further. As Anakin and Padme eventually return to Coruscant, the Chosen One would go to his friend and Chancellor Palpatine to inquire about his ideas. He truly believed that he could bring more order to the galaxy if he had a more authoritative role in things. The Jedi Council, seeing this as a potential part of his destiny as the Chosen One, allowed him to take on this new role. Palpatine would welcome Anakin eagerly, taking him under his wing and becoming his mentor in the political arena. He knew that making Anakin popular and well liked by the Republic would serve his own plans, preparing him for the one day becoming Darth Vader. Anakin quickly began to build his reputation, engaging in many debates and sharing his strong opinions on how to lead the Republic to peace. The other senators admired him for his unique perspective as a Jedi, and many started to value his ideas and trust his judgment, believing that he could help guide the Republic through this new war. Anakin's confidence grew as he continued to learn from Palpatine, and he became a visible and influential figure in the Senate. Anakin's rise in politics was swift and surprising. Under Palpatine's guidance, he became more confident and outspoken. Anakin quickly learned the skills needed to navigate the political arena, from making powerful speeches to negotiating with other senators. He often talked about bringing peace and order to the galaxy, which impressed many who were tired of the endless war and political infighting. His ideas were bold and direct. He believed in a strong central government that could make quick decisions without being slowed down by constant debate. Anakin's popularity grew as he gained more support from senators who were frustrated with the current state of the Republic. He continued to tie his ideas to his Jedi values, and Padme played a big part in his political journey. She often shared her experience as a senator, advising him on how to approach issues with a balance of strength and democracy. While they had different views on some matters, they tried to not let it get in the way of their relationship. Meanwhile, Palpatine began to face pressure in the Senate. He had already stayed in office 2 years beyond the legal limit, using the ongoing war as a reason to maintain his position. But many senators were now demanding he step down. Sensing an opportunity, Palpatine decided to resign, knowing that his time was running out and that he had accomplished what he needed. He publicly endorsed Anakin as his successor, presenting him as the hero of the Republic and the ideal leader for a time of crisis. Anakin was elected as the Supreme Chancellor within the first year of joining the Senate, something never seen before. He received overwhelming support, seen as a fresh, strong leader who could bring the change to the Republic that they desperately needed. This was exactly what Palpatine wanted. He knew Anakin would be easy to manipulate and that he could still control things from the shadows. The Republic was now in the hands of the young Jedi, whose vision for the galaxy was becoming clearer and more determined with each passing day. Chancellor Skywalker would make Palpatine Vice Chancellor, which Palpatine's supporters were very pleased about, as it meant that Sheev was still high-ranking in the Republic. As Supreme Chancellor, Anakin's opinions began to change, and his views started to clash with the Jedi Council. The Jedi believed in balance and careful decision-making, but Anakin felt they were too slow and indecisive in a time of war. He started making choices that went against their advice, believing that quick, decisive action was needed to win the Clone Wars. He pushed for more aggressive military strategies, offering clone troops to take risks and make bold moves against the Separatists. He believed that the Republic needed to be strong and united, even if it meant bending or breaking some rules. Palpatine saw Anakin's growing frustration with the Jedi and began to manipulate him further. He told Anakin that to truly save the Republic, he needed to be stronger, firmer than ever before, and that more than Palpatine had ever been. Palpatine argued that democracy was too weak and slow to handle the crisis, and that the Republic needed someone who could make more hard decisions without being held back by endless debate. He whispered that the people were willing to give up some of their rights to feel safe again, and that Anakin was the only one who could provide the order and strength that the galaxy needed. Anakin, caught between his duty as a Jedi and his new role as Chancellor, began to believe that Palpatine might be right. The more he listened, the more he felt that only he could bring true peace to the galaxy, even if it meant going against the Jedi Code and very principles he had once sworn to uphold. Palpatine began to subtly guide Anakin's thoughts towards a more authoritarian way of ruling. He often talked to Anakin about how democracy was weak during times of crisis, pointing out that debates and votes took way too long and that quick action was needed. Palpatine would remind Anakin that he stayed in office longer than his term to protect the Republic, and that sometimes leaders had to break the rules to save the people. He made Anakin feel like only a few, those who were truly strong and wise, could see the truth. Palpatine would frame Anakin's desire for order and control as a noble pursuit, telling him that he was different from the other Jedi, that he had the strength to make the hard decisions that others could not. Palpatine then began to create problems throughout the Republic, from rebellions on far off-world planets to attacking the most important trade routes. Each time, he would suggest to Anakin that a firmer response was needed, encouraging him to take stronger and harsher actions to restore order. Palpatine did this carefully, always positioning Anakin as a hero, the one who stepped up when others were afraid, the one who could save the Republic from the chaos. Each crisis made Anakin feel more important, more essential to the survival of the Republic, and he began to believe that maybe only he could truly keep the galaxy safe. Padme slowly began to become worried, seeing her husband's values shifting and becoming darker and a more dictatorship view. He had lost his faith and trust in the Republic, and his arrogance had risen to believe that only he was the person fit to lead. Anakin began to spend more time studying the Republic's constitution, thinking about how he could make changes to strengthen the government. He believed that the old rules were outdated and that they made the Senate weak, unable to make quick decisions or respond fast enough to threats. He proposed amendments that gave the Chancellor more power to act without waiting for a vote, arguing that this would make the Republic stronger and safer. Meanwhile, Palpatine kept talking to Anakin about the Jedi Council, saying that they were too rigid and bound by old traditions, too afraid to make the hard choices that needed to win the war. He told Anakin that the council members were too cautious, too caught up in their own beliefs, and that they would never have the strength to do what he needed and that Anakin was doing. Palpatine suggested that Anakin, with his wisdom and strength, was meant to lead both the Republic and the Jedi, and that he was the only one who could bring true order to the galaxy. Anakin started to believe this, feeling that his ideas and actions were more important than the Council's old ways. He began to see order as the most important thing, more important than democracy, more important than the Jedi Code, and he felt that he was the only one who could do this. As Anakin continued to gain more power and push for stronger control over the Republic, Padme watched with growing concern. She remained true to her belief in democracy and diplomacy, feeling that Anakin's methods were becoming too forceful, too authoritarian. She saw how he made decisions quickly and without discussion, believing that this was the only way to bring peace, but it worried her. One day, she decided to confront him, expressing her fears that he was moving away from the ideals they had once both shared. Anakin, however, was not pleased to hear this. He felt misunderstood, believing that he was doing what was necessary for the safety and future of the Republic. The conversations between them grew tense as Anakin defended his actions, insisting that a firmer hand was needed to control the chaos of the galaxy, that peace sometimes required harsh choices. But Padme felt that he was losing himself, losing the ideals of justice and freedom that they had once both fought for. She loved him deeply, but her heart was torn between her love for him and the commitment to the principles that had always guided her. She feared that Anakin was becoming someone she no longer recognized, someone who cared more for control than the freedoms they had once vowed to protect, and this created a painful distance between them that neither of them knew how to bridge. Padme met with Bail Organa and Mon Mothma in a quiet, hidden corner of the Senate building. They spoke in hushed tones, discussing the growing strength of Anakin and Palpatine's faction in the Senate. Bail and Mon Mothma expressed their concerns that this group was moving away from the democratic values and making decisions that concentrated power in fewer hands. They assumed that Anakin, as Padme's close friend, could be influenced by her, and they hoped she might help them see the dangers of this path. Padme listened, but inside she felt even more worried. She knew that Anakin's ideas were becoming more rigid and that he was drifting further from the ideals they all believed in. Even though there had been distance between Anakin and Padme in terms of their views, their relationship still flourished. They loved each other, and Anakin's increased presence on Coruscant brought them closer together than ever before. He was around more often, and they spent more time together, sharing moments they had missed due to his previous duties. Although he was still a Jedi, his role had significantly changed, and he wasn't fighting the Clone Wars as a Jedi General. As expected, you can't have the Chancellor on the front lines. During this time, Padme began to notice small shifts in her body, a certain tiredness, and a feeling deep within her that something was different. One day, after consulting with her physician, she found out that she was pregnant. The news filled her with a mix of emotions, joy, fear, and even greater senses of worry about what the future might hold, both for her family and for the galaxy. Palpatine knew that Anakin and Padme were having issues connecting on a political level, and even moral and values levels. Their connection was close, but they had to ban discussing politics at home because every time they got into massive arguments. Anakin would confide in his Vice-Chancellor about this, and Palpatine knew that he carefully could exploit this situation to his advantage. He subtly suggested to Anakin that Padme's views were too idealistic, driven by emotions rather than the harsh realities of war. He painted her as naive, unable to see the greater picture of what was necessary to win the conflict and bring peace. Slowly, Palpatine started to plant seeds of doubt in Anakin's mind, hinting that Padme and her allies might be plotting against him, trying to undermine his authority and vision for the future of the galaxy. He went as far as to fabricate evidence, showing that Padme was meeting secretly with those who opposed Anakin's methods, framing these meetings as part of a conspiracy to overthrow him. Anakin felt torn, struggling between his deep love for Padme and his growing strength of paranoia. He began to question her loyalty, wondering if she was truly on his side or if she had been swayed by those who still clung to the ideals of democracy. The tension built until it led to a climactic confrontation, where Anakin stood face to face with Padme, his heart pounding with confusion and anger. He had to choose between trusting the woman he loved or believing that she had betrayed him for her own ideals. Inside him, there was a battle raging between the light, which still held his love for Padme, and the dark, which whispered that only by embracing power could he secure the galaxy's future. Anakin truly believed that he was doing the right thing. However, the following events would change everything. Palpatine orchestrated the arrest of Padme, Bail Organa, and Mon Mothma, accusing them of serious political crimes. He thought that Anakin, now a strong leader, would see these actions as necessary for the Republic's stability. Palpatine believed that Anakin would understand that these harsh measures were meant to protect the galaxy, but Palpatine had miscalculated. Anakin, despite his growing authoritarian tendencies, was still deeply in love with Padme. Seeing the woman he loved and the mother of his unborn child in prison shook him to his very core. He had always been driven by the desire to protect and control, but this was different. The emotional weight of his actions hit him hard. The guilt and regret started to consume him. He realized by following Palpatine's manipulations, he had betrayed someone he truly cared about, someone who had been a beacon of his love and hope. Anakin was torn apart as he understood that his decisions were causing a deep rift within the Republic, turning his allies against each other and threatening the very peace he wanted to secure. When he went to visit Padme, their conversation was filled with pain. Padme, despite her situation, remained strong, claiming they had done nothing wrong and that the real culprit was Palpatine. In a moment of intense emotion, she revealed that she was pregnant. This revelation hit Anakin like a hammer on a nail. He realized that his actions, driven by Palpatine's manipulations, had brought about the suffering of the woman he loved and was now threatening the future of their child. The realization that he had been a pawn in Palpatine's grand scheme and that his quest for power had led to personal and political ruin that began to sink in. Anakin was faced with the brutal truth that he was tearing the Republic apart, and the sense of betrayal and loss weighed heavily on him. For a long time, Palpatine had been a guiding figure for Anakin, always showing support for Anakin's vision of bringing order to the galaxy. He had convinced Anakin that his actions were necessary to save the Republic, and that his own harsh decisions were for the greater good. However, the arrest of Padme made Anakin start to doubt everything he had believed in. Padme had always been loyal and had never done anything wrong, and she was now imprisoned. This made Anakin wonder why Palpatine would go so far as to frame someone like Padme. If Palpatine was truly working for the Republic's best interests, why would he harm someone who had always supported the Republic? Anakin's trust in Palpatine began to crack. He started to question if Palpatine's motives were as pure as he had always thought. He wondered if Palpatine had a hidden agenda and if his actions were really about saving the galaxy, or if he was simply using Anakin to gain more power. The thought that Palpatine might not be the wise mentor he appeared to be started to eat away at Anakin's mind, making him reconsider everything he had been told and everything he had done. Anakin goes to the Jedi Council. The council members, who had always been wary of him, greeted him with cautious eyes. They were not happy with the path he had chosen, which they felt went against the Jedi Code. Despite their reservations, they agreed to hear him out. Anakin took a deep breath and explained everything he had discovered. He told them now that Palpatine had been gradually taking more power and control over the galaxy, and now Palpatine had gone too far by imprisoning 3 of the most respected senators on false charges. His voice trembled with the weight of his words, and he pleaded for their help. The Jedi Council realized the seriousness of the situation and agreed to support him. They quickly moved into action, going to the Senate with Anakin. As they arrived, the chamber was buzzing with tension and confusion. Anakin stood before the Senate, revealing the truth about Palpatine's corruption and the wrongful imprisonment of the senators. The senators were shocked by the revelation, beginning to murmur and argue between themselves. With the council's backing, Anakin pushed for immediate action. As Palpatine tried to defend himself, it ultimately wouldn't work. Anakin is more loved in the Senate than Palpatine ever was, and whatever Anakin says, the Republic would believe. The room fell silent as Palpatine was escorted out of the chamber by Mace Windu and Yoda, his face a mask of surprise and fury. He was arrested for crimes against the Republic, and the news quickly spread. The Senate was left in a state of shock, and Anakin, though relieved, knew that the battle for the Republic was far from over. From here, the senators would be released from prison and Anakin would appoint his wife Padme Amidala as the next Vice Chancellor of the Republic. The Chosen One had understood his faults, and now they were united as one to make monumental moves to bring about peace in the Republic. As for Palpatine, the Republic had sentenced him to 20 years in prison for his crimes, but he wore his sentence like a cloak of patience. Despite his fall from power, he remained calm and composed, knowing his plans were far from over. Sate Pestage, his loyal ally, visited him in the prison. They met in a small dark room, where the atmosphere was heavy with unspoken secrets. With a cold, calculating smile, Palpatine revealed to Pestage that their secret project was still on track. He shared the news that Exegol, the hidden world where their final plan was being prepared, had been located. Palpatine's eyes gleamed with a dark satisfaction as he spoke of the future, hinting that their enemies would soon face the consequences of their actions. Though imprisoned, Palpatine's mind was already working on his next move, and he waited patiently for the right moment to exact his revenge and reclaim his power over the galaxy. Hey guys, make sure to check out our saber shop Fantasy Sabers for the best NeoPixel sabers on the market. We have a bunch of perfect replicas and other insane Padawan sabers for sale. Check them out on our website, first link in the description below, and grab your own one today. If you enjoyed today's video, you must watch what if Anakin and Padme were both Jedi, and what if Order 66 worked on half the clones. Please check out our saber shop Fantasy Sabers for the largest collection of replica Padawan sabers and many more. The link is first in the description. Thank you all for watching, and may the Force be with you.